but I maybe should go through this one more time just to make sure you've got it. And this is the ABC, the 17.3b. We did the 17.3a and looked at using direct labor as the driver. And now we're going to do the ABC, and we're going to look at using machine setup, machine handling, and quality control as your drivers. Those are going to be the drivers. And before we can get all of that done, we've got to figure out how much to allocate per each of these drivers. So first of all, we're going to take the quantity of each one of these. So we have machine setup, and it's at 121,000. You have overhead costs for material handling at 48,000. And you have quality control costs of 80,000. Now those have been calculated, and these are the numbers that are fairly certain that we're actually going to use in the next period. Again, they are estimations. They are not the actual, okay? So now we have to figure out how much it's going to cost us per setup. So we sit down and we look at it and we say, well, we have product A and product B. Product A is going to use 10 setups and product B is going to use 12 setups. So we have 22 setups we need to allocate over that $121,000. So that's our first part. And now we're going to go look at parts. Now we are going to make 10,000 units of A. So that's 10,000 parts here times 1. We're going to make 2,000 units of B. See that right there? And that makes 6,000 parts of part B. We're going to add those together and come up with 16,000 parts that are going to be used during this period. I put that in the wrong place, guys. So that goes right here. Now we're going to come down and look at quality control. And we're going to use $80,000. And each product is one's going to use 40 and one's going to use 210. So that means our hours that we have to allocate are 250. So now it's a simple matter of dividing the number that we're going to use into the overhead costs. And that will give us per setup, per part cost. So there's 5,500 there. This one's going to be $3. And this one's going to be $320, I believe. Now, I think you've heard me say this several times. If this is wrong, then everything else is wrong. So now we have our numbers, and we have what we're going to use. So I have machine setups. Now I'm going to break it down. Remember, here I'm putting it together. Now I'm going to tear it apart again. So I'm going to look at product A and product B. I'm looking at product A first. And that is showing, I got to make sure my mic is on, guys. It is. So that is showing machine setups are going to have 10 of them. And per setup is $5,500. Material handling, remember I had one part. And there are 10,000 pieces. So there's 10,000 parts that we're going to use for product A. And quality control tells us there's going to be 40 hours that they're going to use for product A. So now my driver for parts was $3, and my amount for quality control was $320. So now all we have to do is multiply these out, tear it apart, put it back together, right? To find out how much overhead each one of these activities is going to be allocated, how you're going to allocate that. So now we're putting it all back together again. It needs to be an equal sign. Okay, so we'll go up here. And now I come down here. It should be happy. And just highlight that. And that tells me $97,800 should be the overhead allocation. So now I've got to say, okay, so how much is that a piece, a part that I'm making? And that comes to $9.78. You get that by dividing the full overhead by the piece parts that you've made. Okay, so that's B. And now I'm going to let's go do B. So B has 12 setups at $5,500. It has 6,000 parts, remember, at $3. And it has 210 hours at $320. And that's going to give us some overhead allocations here. And we'll just copy those down. Again, we'll add them up now. We'll keep tearing it apart, putting it back together. And now I'm going to divide that by 2,000. 2,000 units. And that should give me a per unit distribution of $75.60. So now what do we do with this? Well, we're going to now go back to a time. It needs to go way over there if we can. So now how much does each one of these units cost us? Well, if you look here, you'll find product A is $2 in materials. Product B is $3 in materials. Direct labor is 20% of that $24, which is 4.8 or $4.80. This was 25% of the $24, which was $6. And our overhead that we've calculated is 9.78 per piece and 75.60 per piece. And now we're going to add those up to find out what the total manufacturing costs are. So we have $16.58 here and $84.60 here. It's a little bit different than what it was on the first one we did. Now we can ask that question, which one is making a profit? Well, let's pull that information down and let's do a really quick income statement just for the part. So this one's now making $3.42 and product B is now losing $24.63. Now if we went back to if I go back to, that's a pain. Let me move that up. Let's go back to this one. If you remember, and this one, we were losing, I believe, 6.42. And we were actually making a profit of about, maybe, I can't remember the profit, but we were making a profit on that. So that was on the plus side. So you can see now we're making a gain on product A and we're losing on product B. Now what happens? How much of a gain and a loss is that? Let's go back to here. We're making 10,000 of those and 2,000 of these. So if I look at, if I just lay those out and do them as they show, I'm losing 34 thousand on, or I'm gaining 34,000 on this one, and I am losing 49,000 on product B. So this is a big deal. Even though this is a very profitable part, this one is overtaking this. So overall, we're actually, how are we going to do that? We're actually losing money. You need to add that. We're actually losing $15,000 because of Part B. So the decision has to be made as how to make this more profitable. If you look and you'll see there's a really big expense with that quality control. Does it really need to be that high? You know, you've got 210 hours versus 40 hours on the other one. So there are questions you can ask. Why is this so high? Why is that one, or why is that one so low? Whichever way you want to go with it. So that is 17.3b. I hope that helps a little bit.